Haspelknecht, the story of early coal mining.
Very much. Coal mining.
I'm sure I mispronounced that. Probably got coal mining right.
All right, so this is a resource drafting game.
It's an action point. It's
action selection.
Yeah.
Anyway, about coal mining. But before we get into it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell because board games are awesome, and that's what we do here at Legends of Nirvana. Now, the reason why we chose this one is in another video, someone has specifically called this out when they...
It wasn't a video. It was on Facebook. I posted some pics for a Shelfie Saturday on one of the forums, and somebody out of all the 3,000 games noticed this game and called it out and said, "Oh, that's an awesome game." And I'm like, I have not played it, so now we wanted to remedy that. So it was on my video for the ones of the worker placement games that we most needed to play.
Oh, okay.
So it was on that list.
All right, cool. So that's the reason why it is here in front of us today. Now, what I do understand is it's from 2015.
Yes.
And it's done by Capstone Games.
Yes. You're stealing half of my details.
Okay, well, finish the rest of the details, Reedy.
Its Board Game Geek rating is 7.2, and its current rank is 1308. It's a 2 to 4 player game, 60 to 90 minutes in length. Age recommendation is 12 and up. That's probably about right because it's got a lot of iconography. Designed by Thomas Spitzer. Art is by Johann Sich and published by Capstone Games, as you mentioned. Now, the MSRP for this is $59.99. It is apparently at least out of print or currently or hard to find anyway. Miniature Market does have 3 copies still in stock if you go to their site. It's sold out at Card House and most of the vendors that we deal with. You can find it on Geek Market for $40 for a used copy that's in very good condition. So I don't know what they call very good, but you can get it new at Miniature Market still for $47.99. There is an expansion. We didn't play with it this time because we wanted to understand the game, but the expansion is the Ruhr Valley expansion. I think next time we'll be playing with that, see what that adds. And that, I believe, runs about $30 if you can find it because it also appears to be out of print. Okay.
All right. So now let's talk about quality of pieces. So quality of pieces, you do have some of the resources that are shaped, but they are like Catan roads, okay? Then you have coal cubes. The wheat is shaped, but
it's the water's shaped.
And the water's shaped, so very minimally. The tiles are linen finish. They're pretty good thickness overall. I'm going to probably rate this a 6 for quality of pieces. There's nothing outstanding.
Yeah.
You've got cardboard money. These are all pretty generic components. You do have the actual player board in an odd shape to fit some things.
You got a generic bag to put them in.
Yeah, so I'm at a 6.
Yeah, I think 6 is fair. I do like the fact that all the cardboard is a good thickness. It's much thicker than you typically see, and it's all linen finished.
All right, so now let's talk about theme. So the theme, obviously, is the story of early coal mining. Basically, you have started your own coal mine and you're trying to develop. Now, there's a couple of ways you can try to develop or upgrade certain technologies that you use to help you better go through the coal mine. Like a bucket to help you.
A super powerful bucket, mind you.
It is a very super powerful bucket.
It stops rain.
It's tough. No, it collects the rain and it removes itself. Okay.
Yeah,
it's a self-emptying bucket. Okay.
Yes, but it doesn't make a lot of sense because you've got people working to empty water out of your mine without the invention of the bucket. But when you introduce the bucket, you never have water again. Well, I guess they're scooping it with their hands and carrying it out of the mine. It's the only thing I can figure.
Okay. Anyway, the bucket is very, very useful. Okay, but thematically, though, you end up, develop, or you could just try to plow your way through and develop your mine with almost no developments, which Randy tried to do. How successful were you?
Our scores weren't that far apart.
They really weren't. So I do like the fact that there's kind of 2 options now. There are different tiles that get placed depending on player count, so we did not get to see all of the tiles. Which we were a little sad because we couldn't store anything round for round because those tiles weren't available to us. But overall, theme-wise, It works. It's a coal mining theme. I think it fits. I think it makes sense for what it is. Is it directly entrenched? Do I feel like I'm coal mining good, and I really don't want to? So that's fine. Overall,
we did not get black lung while playing the game.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Nice.
So that was nice. So overall, I mean, I do think the art quality is fine. Nothing fantastic, but I think it's okay. So I'm probably going to go with a 7 on theme. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, this reminded me a lot of Clans of Caledonia, where it's, the quality of the pieces, although this one is in large size, whereas Clans of Caledonia is so tiny. But just the feel of this game felt a lot like that. It's very tailored to a very specific time period, a very specific action. But yeah, you do get the actions all make sense with the coal mining and that's what this game is strictly featuring. So yeah, I think 7's a fair score.
All right, so now let's move on to actual rulebook. Randy, how was the rulebook? Now, I will say that we had to go back a couple of times to review the rulebook for different rules. Do you think it's just because there's a lot of content, or what was your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it was a tough read. It was not straightforward. I mean, Capstone Games, a lot of the rules are, for a lot of their games, they're heavier games. This is definitely a medium weight game. This is not a light game. So just given the complexity, it's a little challenging. The sequencing in the book didn't help. It's not straightforward. It kind of jumps around. It starts out going through the setup's fine, but once you get into the actions, it kind of explains how the mine works, and then goes into how water works. There's a game flow, and then it goes into your actions. So the game flow diagram really is all that tells you kind of how the play goes, but then it kind of jumps to the actions. Then it goes and describes all the different people, like the farmers and the farmhand and all of that. So it's kind of choppy the way they sequenced it. I don't know if it's the best way to go about it, but it was kind of hard to follow. Then it goes into the scoring at the end, and that makes sense.
But what would you rate it overall?
Overall, I'll probably give it 6.5. I think it's fine. It's just, it was a little bit hard to follow and understand. Once we started playing, it started making more sense. So yeah, I think a 6.5 is a fair score for this. Oh, I forgot to bring this up on the quality of components. This was in the box. I have no idea what the intent of using this or how it was supposed to be positioned in the box. It's clearly supposed to have been a divider of some kind. It's not got any kind of things to slide your things into. You can fold it, you can make all kinds of shapes with it, but there's nothing to show how this would go together. And I checked the forums on Board Game Geek, and people were saying, they didn't know how to put it together. You can make boxes like that, but there's nothing to fasten them. So I don't know if you're supposed to glue it yourself.
Wow, that's...
Yeah, it was just loose. It was actually sealed in the pack.
Due to the sides, I think this is supposed to have a slit here.
Yeah, there's no slits. So it just doesn't... It makes sense why that's in the box.
What?
I don't understand it at all.
I think something failed here.
Yeah, but it was sealed inside the same thing as all the punch boards in a.
You know what? We've seen we've seen them like this.
Yeah.
I'm thinking. Well, I mean, you could probably make this work with some glue, but I don't know if
I just don't think you need it. You just chuck it. I mean, that's the best thing to do. We use bags and everything, just like the typical, but it's fine. You don't need that. I don't know why it was in there, but it was interesting. It occupied my evening for one night.
Well, anyway, so let's now talk about gameplay. Did you score the rules?
Yeah, yes. I give 6.5.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about gameplay. So gameplay is you have a full board over here, and
you have basically sections of 6 and 3 tiles. The 6 is the kind of the active area, and then 3 is the reserve. But you can draft from any of those.
Okay.
And depending on number of players, you'll add on more 6 and 3 sections.
Yes. So no matter what, you are only going to be able to draw 5. Well, not no matter what.
Yeah.
Typically, you're only going to be drawing 5 circles over here. And these are basically the different kind of actions that you can take. Now, that being said, when I go to draft, I have to draft of one color. I don't have to draft all of them, but I can only draft from one color.
No, you have to take all of them.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Unless you can
Unless
on the
you
second?
can't, right.
Okay.
So the first draw, you have to take all of one color from one of the sections.
Yes. Now, however, one section has a penalty if you take it for the first Rulebook, you get an extra water.
For 2 players on one section. If you add on the additional expansions, it may add additional ones.
Okay, yeah. So just look at that. And so pay attention to the icons there. But then you're going to draft. So say if I were to pick up 4 wood, because I need to expand out my mind. And then...
Your mind?
Mine.
Expanding your mind by taking
I need to
the
do
wood.
that too. I need to do that too.
All right. So that would mean she has to take a water penalty. Now, the first thing at each...
I don't. Because I have a bucket.
Well, at this point, if you were starting the game, at the beginning of the first phase of the game, you're going to get 1 water, which is going to go into your mine.
Right.
And if you accumulate water, it prevents you from being able to extract coal from your mine. So you want to make sure you keep control of your water that has developed. But when you're taking the tiles, you can choose all of one color, she mentioned. So I will take the 4 coal.
So that sounds like a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Now, you place them on the position 1, and then after everybody's drafted their first draft, you count up. You're going to count up the numbers, the points worth of tiles you have in your 1. Coal's worth 1, or the black is worth 1. Wood color brown is worth 2, and yellow is worth 3. And whoever's got the lowest is getting to go first until the next evaluation, the next round.
Yeah. So basically, Randy would go first because he took a bunch of coal actions.
Well, you get to draft your last tile on the second
true. Pass. So in this particular case, I'll get a gold to show how that one works.
Sure. I will take 1 as well. So now that we've all got these, this is where we evaluate and reorganize who goes first.
So that changes, and you have a tracker over there. But then after that, everyone's going to plan. So everyone's going to dedicate their different tile or different circles to do different things. Now, you have a couple of workers, and sometimes the resource will alter what you're doing. So for an example, this gold over here will allow you to trigger this guy.
He's a hired help, basically.
He's a hired help. And then these, so there's a couple of actions that you could take. So the normal farmer, he can actually go to the development board because he's smart enough to buy the development or do the development. So depending on the cost of the development, you'll want to put those. So maybe I'll do 2 over here, but then this other one, I'll put 2 more. You can only put unless you're paying for a development. So if I have 4 brown, I can choose to put it in one location, or I can split them up. But the only reason why I can mix colors is if it's the cost of the Devo, the development. All right, and then first player goes first, but they take all actions, okay? So all of you get to, basically everything you've set up, you get to do. So Randy?
All right, so I'm putting all my black on the farmer, and I'm going to use him to mine. So I can take, per coal, I can take 1 coal from each section, but I have to have wood already there to support. So there's support beams that have to be built.
Correct.
So in this case, at this point, I already had my support beams, but if I hadn't, I would have to build those before I can go into the next section.
I do want to call out the fact that at the beginning of the game, you have 2 mine sections.
Yes.
You have the deep mine section, but you have before you get there, you have to clear off the top mining section. So you have to end up removing your wood and your cubes, and then you'll end up upgrading your tile to be able to do that. Once all that's completed, you'll get victory points based on the round that you complete this on. So the earlier, the more victory points, obviously. And then, like he was saying, you can basically take it, but you have to build those wooden pieces first.
The other thing is once you've emptied the top, it's basically the above ground mine. It's the low hanging fruit. Once that's gone and you've built that, you now have another step in the mining process, because when you mine, there's basically a holding tank for all your coal underground that you have to then use the Haspelknecht as the character to get the coal out of the ground. So his role is just basically, it's kind of like an elevator. He brings the coal to the surface, which he can do as long as there's not 2 or more water that is built up. If there's 2 or more water, you can no longer bring the coals up to the surface. When you're early in the game, the water prevents you from even mining, so you won't be able to get coal at all out to do anything with unless you've removed the water.
Yep.
So you have to keep control of that water. But he also can be used to remove 2 water from the buildup.
Yeah. All right. So so if once Randy completes his actions, which he'll turn his wheat or his gold thing into wheat,
which that's
one.
the other thing you can do is you can use this to get resources.
Okay.
So I get food.
All right. So then I'm going to. So I have 2 wooden tiles here. If up here it has 1 wood and 1 grade out thing. So the grade can be anything. So I'm going to pay that. I'm going to end up taking one of my colored circles and put them on top. And then I'll get the bonus for that Devo ability. Now, I do want to call out, though, you have to start somewhere on the top, and you have to do something that is touching. Unless you're willing to pay an additional cost, you can use someone else's reach, if you will, to be able to go further, but you'll end up having to pay them that resource to be able to do that, depending on the level, and those levels are dictated.
Right. And I think that'll be much more important with more
as the
players.
as the board gets bigger.
Well, that's to say, because each player adds another grow. So if you started out on that side and then you needed one that was on the other side of the board, you're going to have to spend a lot more effort than you did with 2 players to get there.
I agree. So with that kind of in mind, so once everyone completes their actions, then you move the player and you go to the next season. There are basically 4 seasons in each round. There are 3 different rounds. Well, 4.
There's 3 development seasons in the round where you're actually taking
scoring phase,
and then a scoring, which is winter.
And then there's 3 years in the 4 seasons. And so basically, but at the winter, you do also have to feed your workers or pay your taxes or whatever they call it.
Yeah, it's paying the nobility for your land.
And then your coal is, at that point, is also being scored as well. So there's that piece as well. And then that's pretty much the game. So some thoughts. 2-player, I do think it was a little bit restrictive. I think you're right. I think this would be better with more players, but I still think it played fine.
Yeah.
I still enjoyed it quite a bit. It did take some strategy. I honestly loved building up here. And that was kind of my strategy, but you had something very, very different. Like, you just went straight down the line where I was getting a bunch of things.
To try to mine all my coal. Problem is I didn't quite accomplish it, but because I saw that I had to get coin by going down the development track. So you have to do, at minimum, get down the development track enough to get you the food and the coin that you need to feed, because otherwise you have to take penalty chips, kind of like Agricola, which costs you a lot of victory points at the end of the game. So you don't want those. We managed to avoid them this game. So you've got to at least balance that. And coin is very hard to come by. It's
very hard to come by. Trust me. You actually had to make it like a purpose to go and make sure you had the coin that you needed to do that. So why you would ever use coin to spend it on these people, I have no idea why you would do that.
I don't think I'd sacrifice my coin.
No.
Food I was happy to sacrifice.
Yeah, the food made a lot more sense. Overall, though, let's talk about scoring. I thought it was fun. I thought it was fine. I'm hoping that the expansion would add more to it.
Yeah, me too.
Kind of right now I'm at like a 6.5. I mean, it was fine. It was good. But I would like to see a little bit more. What about you?
Yeah, I'm probably right there with you. 6.5 to somewhere between there and 7. I think it needs a little more to it in order to get it fully to be. I just didn't feel like there was enough scoring options. It was almost like we were forced down a couple of strategies. There wasn't a lot of variance. And I do think that they were evenly balanced. My concern is when you, like, a part of me is like, oh, more players, more fun. But if you only have these 2 routes, I'm a little concerned. Well, I think there'll be more with the development actions, giving you more choices. Plus, just the fact that you can get the storage in there is going to allow you to store things to carry them over. So you.
But I didn't even have that much to store.
Well, I know,
I only got rid of one thing once.
I did a few times, but I ended up having to, I ended up having to sacrifice and then rebuild stuff like food. I had to give up food and then get food again in order to do it. And so I felt like I was losing some of the actions I could have used to extract the coal. So I think that cost me. If I had had a way of storing the food, that would have made things a lot easier. Mm-hmm. And so I think that, there's, first of all, this is definitely not a point salad game. There's very few options on paths to go down, and I would prefer more options.
You do love point salad.
But I do like the fact that there's...
But I'm surprised you didn't go after the in-game bonuses on the Devo cards.
Or you calling them Devo cards.
Or Devo, whatever, the development
tiles. But yeah, I didn't. First of all, I didn't realize that the connections between the little coin victory point.
I know, because you're always after in-game. I'm like, why isn't he after going in-game?
Because I felt like we should be taking different strategies instead of both of us going for the same one. And you were clearly going down the development track. So I wanted to vary. And I thought the coal was going to pay out better, but it turns out I got restricting myself and trying to get it out of there. I think actually it would have been better off if I had gotten the water where I didn't have to worry about water versus you getting it. I mean, you getting that didn't really benefit you a lot until the end because you weren't extracting coal.
No, I was still fine. I mean, I wasn't
at the end.
No, you only have you still had what 5 coal left. I only have 6. I mean, I'm not.
It just felt like you were going down. I mean,
but I was able to focus at it when I was ready to focus on it.
Yeah,
because I didn't have any.
Yeah, you got the distractions out of the way. So it felt like again that there was only a couple paths to go down. It was either do the development first or do it later. Do the mining first or do it later. So it didn't feel like there was a lot of variance. So I'm hoping that when we add the expansion in, it's going to make it flesh out and then add more. And then at that point, I think this will be a better game.
Yeah. So you're at 6.5 to 7.
Yeah.
I'm actually pretty much 6.5 to a 7 somewhere in there. But I still had a lot of fun. I enjoyed it, and I have hope for the expansion.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's it's got the brain burning aspect to it, but it just doesn't have enough options. And I think that's what this will hopefully add.
Yeah. But you like your point salads. So.
Yes, I do.
You maybe like something a little bit less busy. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We had a blast. We'll catch you guys later.
Bye.
Bye. Hello today. How are you doing?
We're fine here.
But tomorrow is...
today.
Tomorrow, we don't want to talk to you. We just want to talk to today. Just you today.
Okay, let's do this.